Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy. Today we're going to remove a steering column on a Honda Accord. In order to remove the steering column, we're going to have to get a few things out of our way, starting with this steering cover and also this lower dash cover here. Once we have those things out of the way, we are going to have to remove this cover underneath to access its connection to the power steering rack. Once we've done all that and disconnected a few electrical things, we should have this out of here. I'm going to start by removing these 3 screws on the steering column cover. Pull the steering column adjuster lever down to access this screw. There's another screw over on this side. With the screws removed, if you just push in these areas here, the top cover should pop off. To get the lower cover out, there's going to be one screw right up behind this change assembly, right up in here. So now with the screw removed, you can remove the lower cover. Now there's a metal shield exposed with 4 10mm fasteners, 2 on each side. Remove those. Now remove these 2 Phillips head screws for the center console. With those screws removed, it should make removing the bracket easier. Just lift up, and away you go. Now it should be a lot easier to remove the lower cover. Now we need to remove the lower part of the steering cover. There are 3 plastic screws that you can most likely undo by hand that you need to remove. With those plastic retainers removed, you can now come up and get the metal retainer off the outer cover just by pushing down on it. It's just a metal clip. With the clip removed, you should be able to remove the plastic cover. Just sort of peel it off like an orange. I'm running into a problem now. The steering wheel doesn't move, and I need to move it in order to gain access to the fasteners that connect to the power steering rack. In order to make it so the steering wheel moves, I can either insert the key, which I do not have, or I can remove the ignition switch from the steering column so that the steering column moves freely. That's what I'm going to do now. Normally you don't see this. This is the 10mm head on the breakaway bolt that holds the ignition switch in place. Normally this is broken off like it is on the other side here. But since it's here, I'm just going to ignore it and just knock them out just like I normally do, which is I take a hammer and a punch and knock them out in a counterclockwise direction. Just dig in a little bit and then start spinning them counterclockwise. Once they move and they're loose, they usually work pretty good. You can normally get them out by hand. Just push up on the ignition switch. You might have to wiggle it around a little bit. That's actually enough to make it so it's loose enough to move the steering wheel. Now that things are loose and I can move the steering wheel, I can put the fasteners in position so I can remove them. They're 10mm fasteners. Before we drop the steering column down for good, I want to disconnect a few electrical connections first, starting with this SRS connector here. This vehicle had a security system on it that I've removed to give you an idea of what you'd see more typically in this situation. We also need to disconnect these. One glass connector here and the top of the fuse box. There are 4 remaining fasteners that are holding the column in. 14mm nuts here, 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 and here. I'm going to start with these up here. After removing the final 2, the column is going to drop down. It'll just slide off of the joint connecting to the power steering rack, and we can just remove it the rest of the way once we remove these 2 fasteners. And now for the last fastener, you might want to have a friend hold up the steering column when you do this. Now the column is free from its mouse, you should be able to pull it right out. Steering column. Well, there you have it. Removing a steering column from a Honda Accord. A little help from a buddy is recommended. Anyway, I'm Eric the Car Guy. If you have automotive questions, I'd ask you to head over to EricTheCarGuy.com. It'll be easy. I'll put a link in the description. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, also Instagram. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.